All right. Comfy?
Not bad.
So I think we're investing in your future, but before we get there, actually, was it 2 weeks ago we found out I was going to be doing this with you, and try not to be a little bit of a fanboy, but you know, before like there's Westcap, you guys are growing like crazy, but for me, doing this with you, the reason it's exciting is I feel like you guys are making California great again, bringing mortgage back to California, and I really want to know. What was the one thing? What was the catalyst that took you away from where you were to start Westcap?
Um, I first off, when I joined the channel, I came from Loan Depot. I came from a, consumer direct model. I walked in every day. It was a fun environment. I was with my friends, and I kind of the business model changed, and I kind of fell out of love with it. But I always loved being around people and enjoying the collaboration and sharing experiences and events. And when I joined the wholesale channel, I remember I was in an office with like 2 people. I was like completely alone. I felt independent and I didn't really have any resources. I didn't feel like I had resources. I didn't know where to go, what to do. And so I would say like the burning desire for me within Westcap was like, all right, let's figure out how to like show people what this model could be. For those that you don't know, Westcap is kind of a blend of a broker and a consumer direct. We're kind of a hybrid model, and there's been a lot of loan officers leaving consumer direct and retail and kind of learning this side of the business. But I would say that was like one of my biggest desires was figuring out like how to be a broker, but then not just be alone, independent on an island, trying to figure things out myself. How can I work with my friends? How can I have a great environment and create kind of an ecosystem very similar to what I was used to, but in a different platform?
What was it like walking away? Because if you're consumer direct, like you're getting fed, you're hunting, you're fishing, like everything's going through. That pipeline gets big quick. That's a big sacrifice to just start over. What was it? Was it like a drive home after work where you were just at your wit's end, or was it going into work, or what was the catalyst that kind of made the decision?
Well, I'll first off just throw it out there. I was demoted. So I have 3 kids, and I remember I had just had my 3rd son, Dylan, and he was just a couple months old. And I'm waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm staying late, and everything was just so like metrics. And, we were pushing our sales floor. I had about 240 loan officers within my org. And I saw our comp continued to go down. Average commission went from like 17,000 all the way down to about less than 7,000. And for the amount of effort and work and just micromanagement that we were dealing with, I fell out of love with the business. And so I spoke up. I remember being in an offsite meeting and just, sharing, nobody was really sharing, we were losing loan officers, and I kind of spoke up. I just said, look, if we continue down this path and we're pushing every button, every micro, we're blitzing in the morning, we're pushing these guys to stay late, we're doing weekend blitzes, they can't see their kids' baseball game, they can't go to their different things, and we're not paying them the way that we should be paying them, then we're going to continuously lose people. And so I would say that was like the defining moment, was this meeting and then being demoted about 3 months later, and then kind of being essentially forced with that decision. Was I going to stay and make it work, or was I going to blaze a different path?
So you kind of highlighted the problem that you're trying to solve and the grind of that direct to consumer model. Was that really the first, the creation of Westcap was, how do we solve that problem? Because all the obstacles you just talked about, you still have to face. But, I'm guessing it's working a little bit better than it was back then, because when I see, you guys have a great social media presence and the team really is excited about being part of Westcap. So how do you manage that difficult, we have to hit these numbers, we've got to do these things to work these leads, but also have a great culture?
Yeah, I think it's just the environment. And as an independent mortgage broker, it's a choice, right? And I feel like the mentality of you're an employee, they're telling you to do it, they're forcing you to do it, and you're not making the type of money that you should be making, in my opinion, per loan.
Right.
It's, yes, we're doing the same job, we're doing the same work, we're putting in the same hours, just like Mike said, there's a grit and intensity to this business that if you want to be great, you have to put in the work, right? But it's different. And as a broker and through this wholesale channel, when you're in control of your hours and, you're independent, you feel you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, right? You're choosing to invest in your business. You're choosing, it's a choice, right? Versus it being forced. And that small difference might not seem like much, but it's a mindset shift. And for me, it changed everything.
So you brought up something, and it was part of the reason you wanted to start your own thing. But I go back to when Portnoy was up here, he puts his employees on contracts, right? And it's some of them make it and they want to leave. Like that's kind of what happened with you is you were doing great, you wanted to leave. So what are some of the things that you preach or have in place so that maybe that doesn't, you don't have to worry about that turnover because the team's so excited to be a part of it and the comp structured a way that they're not going to leave just for that one extra bip or the 10 extra bips or whatever it is. What makes you guys unique in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's got a choice, right? And this model's not for everyone. Westcap's not for everyone, right? But I just think that the people that embrace this model and choose to be with us, right? They feel like they're part of a family. They feel like we work incredibly hard. We spend a lot of money on marketing. We spent $3.2 million last month on leads and marketing. But it's a community, it's a family, and we feel like we're, individually lifting each other up and kind of growing together. So I think people don't want to leave that. They have the choice, right? If you're a broker owner, you can make 100%, right? You can, but being part of a group and the shared collaboration and strategy and lenders and leads and all the different things that we do, I think is such a draw that more and more people are joining the channel and joining with us.
So as you grow and it seems like you guys have scaled very rapidly, and that's a delicate balance of, hey, we're going to lay out a bunch of money in hopes that it's going to return based on certain conversion, all the different metrics. So how do you manage growth, but then making sure that your foundation is stable enough so that you can hit those numbers? Do you focus on, is it process first, then people process? How do you guys, when you're sitting in a room and you're like, okay, today we're here and we want to get to here, but to get to here, we need this. What does that look like in your world?
I think, you have to have a good team around you. So number one, I would say we're kind of in this hyper growth mode, right? We've added 200 plus loan officers this year. And so you have to have a good foundation. You have to have a good onboarding team. You have to be very process oriented. You have to really help loan officers, educate them what we do and what's different about our model and immerse them in the culture because it's hard, right? And so I just say is having a great team around us, have great leaders. We got a couple guys, Al Bennett's here shooting. We got Sean Way, Harnett, Justin Page, and Eric, my business partner. We're here to support each other. And these guys are like the foundational members that are going to help stabilize the business so that when people are just onboarding, we can give them the experience and the training that they need to be successful.
So you guys have refined the process and you just named a lot of people. So people are important to the organization. How do you go about recruiting the right people? Because one company might not be a great fit for this person, but another company might be awesome. So how do you know whether the person that's coming in or that you're recruiting is going to be the right fit for your company?
I think, I would say our biggest presence is in Orange County, right? We have a lot of local consumer direct companies. So I think it's very easy to, number one, everyone knows everyone kind of in the mortgage space. It's big, but yet it's incredibly small. So I would say word of mouth, understanding, using MMI, looking at their production, looking at NMLS, understanding what where they've been, and if they're a fit for the model.
So when you have that conversation, you just named a lot of big mortgage bankers that are that consumer direct model. What's like the thing that gets them to come over? Because I've seen a lot of that with you guys. You got a lot of big players from prior shops, and they're like, nope, I want to be at Westcap. And they come over and they crush it, and they're excited. Like, what does the discussion look like when you guys are having that with them?
Well, so many loan officers in consumer direct, they don't really understand the broker channel at all, right? It's two completely different worlds, in my opinion, right? So my background, 17 years I was in consumer direct, right? I was a lead junkie. I would buy leads, I'd work leads. I built an entire business off of that, and I worked at companies that built businesses off of that. So I just think that there's just certain loan officers that have done this, and they see they want to transition to the wholesale channel, but they don't know how to find realtors. They don't know how to develop relationships. It's a harsh transition to be able to do that. So if you give them a playbook and say, here's what you do every day, right? Buy X amount of leads, follow our Westcap process, follow our strategy, and these are the numbers, right? And then we have 900 loan officers. We have 150 of them that made 50 grand or more following that exact strategy. And so when you have this many people that validate what the process is, and that it works, and that it's successful, and that you can come into an ecosystem and be trained and learn exactly what they're doing, and that as long as you're following those steps, you're gonna have those same results or similar results, I think that there's such a massive draw to that. It's like, why do I wanna try to go off and try to figure it out on my own, right? I don't know what to do. Where do I go? Who's gonna teach me? Or I could come into this, we have 40,000 square feet of space in Orange County. I could come in and everyone's having fun. They're cooking together. They're working together. They're making money together. They're buying cars. They're doing, it's like, it's like a movement, I would say. And they want to be part of that movement.
So speaking of the movement and moving forward over the next 3, 5, however many years in the future, what are the key things that you're focused on? Where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? Where's your team focused on? What do you guys plan on doing over the next few years? Because you've done a shit ton of work the last 3-4 years. When was it started? What was the year?
We started in April 2021.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. That's crazy growth, and so. How do you continue that momentum? What does a roadmap look like for you guys?
I guess my focus personally, and I think a lot of our team, is we want to just get better every single day, right? From, it might sound cliche, but how we onboard people, how do we train them? How do we do our lead dispersion system? How do we implement the technology processes and get an adoption rate? How do we implement AI into our strategy? How do we do, there's just so many little tweaks and dials that I think, that's kind of what, when I go to bed at night, if I'm thinking about business, I'm thinking about how do I get better? How do I get our team to get better? And I would anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years, if it's anything like the first 4 years of this business, I only see it kind of like being a hockey stick, right? I think we're going to get better. I think we have the right team around us. We have a great strategy. I think we're significantly different. No offense to Tom and David Temko and Cordis. They have great business models. They have a great support structure as well. But I would say that their background and their community and strategy is much different than what we're doing. And, we're able to kind of fuel the fire, when everyone's talking about this desert and loan officers leaving and people aren't making money and you're on the edge of a cliff. I'll disagree, like wholeheartedly, like no offense to Eddie or anybody else, but we're kicking ass. We funded $1.4 billion in the last 45 days. And I anticipate we'll be at 7 or 8 billion this year. And it's going to continue.
Awesome. You just touched on community, and I think you're right. Like, there's a bunch of different players here. It's a massive space. Although it's small, we all know one another, but I think you guys are really building something special. And when you said community, it reminded me of something. I was talking to Kenny right before I came on, and I touched my jacket pocket right here, and I've got this little baby Jesus in here that Kevin used to give out to everyone.
Aww.
And I didn't think about it at the time, but the reason I met you was because of Kevin, because I just joined EPM. And he's like, hey, you got to go with Frankie Wholesale. Meet Danny and Eric. I was like, I don't know who that is, but sure, I'll do it. And that's how we met. I came to your guys' office, and you were just building out that whole new section. I think I met a couple of the guys over there. But it brings me to my last question. And community, Kevin, Kenny, one of my first experiences with EPM was The Whole Perspective, a podcast that Kenny and Kevin did together. And they wrapped it every single time with one question. And the question is, how do you define value?
How do I define value? I mean, first off, you have to define value based off of, is the value to your customer, right? The value to our team.
To your company, what is the value that
The value proposition for WestCap? Yeah, I just think in general, we've spent a tremendous amount of hours and millions of dollars now in regards to our strategy. And I think that is the value, that is the true value of WestCap. We disperse 6,000 plus leads every day to 900 loan officers. We have systems in place and a process. And I think that that is our biggest value proposition to the channel. And who is it that was, mentioning this? Jonathan Haddad, right? Jonathan, obviously he came from Rocket. He was sharing, 6.5 years of his experience. And he's like, dude, they're going out there. They're making the calls. They're using data to be able to get in front of clients. And no offense to people that have been brokers for 15, 20 years. I've only been doing this for 5 years, but I see like a massive lack of engagement and figuring out technology, data, and how to go out there and attract clients, right? And get the refi business, right? We do very little purchase business, So I'd say that is the value proposition of WestCap: community, collaboration, shared strategy, a lot of technology, and how we deploy our lead system to hundreds of loan officers all over the nation, and an ecosystem where you can see what others are doing and how to be able to mimic or emulate what they're doing and have the same amount of success. I don't give a shit if rates are at, 8%. If rates stay this way for the next 2 years, I don't care. I already know our production is going to continue to go higher and higher and higher based on our strategy. So I think, in 20 years of being in this industry, you're going to have highs and lows. It's a roller coaster ride, but there's winners, and the winners have a strategy that when they implement that, you take everything out of the equation, everything that's outside of your control. We're in the same boat as everyone else. We can't control rates. We can't control certain things, but what we can control is our implementation, our strategy, and how we're going to execute that. And I think that we have a fantastic strategy, and I have the right team, and we're running and gunning. So you're going to see us more. I promise you that.
Give it up for Danny and the WestCap team making California great again.
And I want to say props to Eddie and Phil and Kenny, just everyone that has put on this event. I think you guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. The whole team.
Yes.
What's up?